Welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel, to the XRP holders. You guys are amazing. I love the feedback you guys are showing. Continue supporting, guys, and you guys know your boy Crypto ZX will bring you guys these daily updates non-stop. So, BitMEX becomes the first exchange to accept RLUSD as margin on its derivatives trading platform. There we have it. Exactly as your boy Crypto ZX projected. If you follow my channel every single day, it's pretty much since the launch of RLUSD, I was saying about this specific thing happening. Now they're using RLUSD as a stable coin that would be tied with a lot of other coins that people want to leverage trade. I'm totally against leverage trading, but this really shows you the confidence these even exchanges are starting to have with RLUSD, and I really personally think this is just the beginning. But welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel. If we're looking today, we're seeing a little bit of a minor pullback, as we can see across the board. Majority of the market's still up. But let's not forget, over the last few days, we're seeing tremendous amount of green across the market. And even over the last 1 hour, we are starting to see the market rebounding. If you're looking at XRP, $2.27, looking amazing, up 1% in Bitcoin, comparative valuation at $134.3 billion, and the 24-hour trading volume is at about $4 billion. But before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer, anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So take a look at this. The US House officially passes President Trump's big, beautiful bill and is going into the next stage. So what does this really mean? I know a lot of people are going to come out and say, well, this doesn't really benefit the, middle class people. It's more for, the wealthy people. I kind of agree with that, to be quite frank with you. But there are, if you kind of dig deep into this bill, what kind of thing it does, small cap, projects, I wouldn't say, maybe crypto could be impacted as well, but small cap, no, I don't think crypto would be, unless, of course, they are based out in the US. Maybe they bring more clarity towards that. As of now, obviously, that's not the case, but small cap companies, stocks could really gain a lot of attention because there are some incentives. So do let me know your personal thoughts about this, as to what you personally think about, this bill moving into the next stage. And on top of that, let's take a look at this. Yes, XRP will become less volatile over time as demand, for XRP increases. And what if I told you? What if I told you we're already starting to see that happening? Yes, a lot of people are going to come and say, "You Crypto ZX, what about these major swings that we're looking at on the chart on the daily? What about that?" But in a grand scheme of things, considering that this is a cryptocurrency, this is by far one of the best holding coins for the year of 2025. I can argue with everyone if they want. You can go for yourself, look across the board. The dominance has gone up literally 10% since December lows. This 10% is such a large number, and yet you still saw the price of XRP maintaining its price within the 38.2 Fibonacci retracement level. If this doesn't tell you how good XRP is holding, at that point, I honestly don't even know what will be able to tell you how good this price is really holding. But moving forward, yeah, I totally agree with that. And as more and more institutions come on board, this is really going to impact that in a positive way, especially when the ETFs get approved, which I personally think is inevitable. S&P 500 hits a fresh record after a better than expected June job report. S&P is flying high. It's pretty much hitting all-time high after all-time high. And now if you're looking at the April, retracement, that seems like it didn't even happen. That literally seems like that didn't even happen, and the price of S&P 500 index has just skyrocketed since then. So S&P is doing great. Overall, the tech stocks are doing amazing, and crypto is doing amazing as well. I think it's time for altcoins to shine, specifically utility-based projects. But look at this, shadow to smoke, of course. Yes, central banks have put a floor under the gold price. The return to gold as a neutral reserve asset. What does this mean? And how does this impact Bitcoin and crypto, you may ask? And if you're asking yourself that question, great question to be asking. So what does this really mean? This means, what this tells you, I'm going to kind of explain it in simple terms for everyone to understand. This means that central banks are losing interest and losing confidence. Confidence, the right word, within the, fiat currency. So rather than, holding that, they're actually going into gold. They've always been accumulating gold, but they're actually accumulating gold heavily. If you kind of take a look at the central bank, the Federal Reserve, and the European one as well, you're seeing something very, very similar happening. And how does this benefit crypto, you may ask? Remember, Bitcoin is labeled as digital gold. Both are scarce assets. And this is obviously, Bitcoin was originally built to be a hedge against inflation. And now big entities across the globe are starting to realize, hold on, Bitcoin is actually long-term perspective. If you kind of look at the chart, it's actually been outpacing. And there's only 21 million Bitcoin. We can't just hit the printer and be like, oh yeah, let's print more Bitcoin or add them into circulation. That's not how it works. This is where interesting, things really start, coming together. Nvidia is approaching a $4 trillion market cap. So like I said to you guys before, we are seeing tech stocks booming right now, and we could see this for ourselves. A lot of them have been going insane. And on top of that, look at this. Earlier this week, Standard Custody, we also applied for a Fed Master account, while Congress is working towards a clear rules and regulations, and banks in a far cry for the years of Operation Choke Point 2.0 are leaning in. This access will allow us to hold RLUSD reserve directly with the Fed. This is the part we need to be paying attention to. And as, digital currencies really enter that next phase, it is going to really start making all of this become a reality, and they're all starting to make sense on top of that. And look at this, Vincent says this perfectly, because we talk about why is the price still holding within this range. And I wanted to kind of, go over Vincent's point, market makers, bot trading. But also one thing, as I've stated to you guys before, there's more to it than that. There is also the dominance aspect. We're seeing a 10% increase since December. A 10%, guys, let that sink in. That's not a small increase for the dominance. That's also something we need to consider, because I personally believe if the dominance was still at the levels of 55%, believe it or not, I think XRP would have been close to its all-time high. I personally think that. But look at this, the hidden hands behind XRP's price, how bots move the market, and when it might stop. Every time XRP gets major news, like a legal victory or a high-profile partnership, its price rises as expected. But what's strange is that unrelated tokens often rise to ADA, XLM, even obscure altcoins, not news, no logic, just upward motion. That's not human-driven price discovery. That's just invisible hands of bots. So look at this, are bots influencing XRP's price? Yes, bots are reacting to XRP's news within milliseconds, long before humans, and execute cross-token strategies that cause unrelated assets to rise. These bots operate with lower latency and sometimes better access to order book data than regular users, giving them a decisive edge. Result, XRP's price becomes disordered and market behavior around it no longer reflects investor sentiment or fundamentals. So pretty much how you want to sum this up is that you're seeing the bears trying to keep, why do you think they want to keep the price low? Because they don't want the price to go higher, because it's obviously not what they want, and they want to keep the price as suppressed as possible at lower levels, because they don't want bulls to win. But when this thing goes down, bulls are winning regardless, in my opinion. But in the time of what we're noticing right now, this can have an impact, and I do agree with his personal take. So if you're looking at the dominant 65.29%, we actually went up a little bit. But if you're looking at BTC, 109,800, we're about to, retest 110,000 once again. We actually retested $110,000 just earlier this morning. Exactly what we projected last night ended up happening. But you want to see the close happening here for the daily. I think that could really push us toward an all-time high, possibly, retest even before this week comes to an end. If you're looking at XRP, look at this, guys. $2.31 retest, but not at the level that I've been talking to you guys about at $2.33. Such an important level for myself. If this is able to break out, like I said 1,000 times, I am targeting the 23.6. But do let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. If you have not subscribed, what are you guys waiting for? Hit that red subscribe, and we'll see you later in Crypto ZX, and peace out.